There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there.
In the last video, we discussed the topic of the loss of identity and the message of the film American Psycho, as well as the book, and its writer Bret Easton Ellis, and whether or not the murders in the film or in the book were in Patrick Bateman's head, or whether they were actually real. But what I didn't do was discuss Patrick Bateman in full and analyze his character. This video will be the character analysis piece to go with the first part that I released a little over a week ago, and I will be addressing other theories around this character and this story. The story has many themes, and the dark comedy's lead character, Patrick Bateman, has garnered much discussion from whether he's a villain or maybe not, or maybe he's too ridiculous to be a villain, or maybe he's really just an insecure person, possibly even gay, and I'm going to be looking into all of this. But most importantly, it's the insecurities and false bravado that I will be discussing in this video essay. So please join me into looking into Patrick Bateman, and let's see what's really going on behind the psycho. Now gang, before we get started, I do want to explain how the video is going to go, the structure at the bare minimum, so that way we don't get a little bit confused, because if you've watched my content before, you know I have a tendency to go a little bit off script. But the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing the character of Patrick Bateman, the man himself. Then we're going to be discussing how he functions among the collective, or you could also call them his friends or his acquaintances. Either one is fine, whichever one suits you. This video will also include small bits of media that Patrick is a part of or he's mentioned, like the other books that Bret Easton Ellis has written. Then I shall look at the gay theory as well as his additional insecurities. Then finally I will go back to the theory of whether the murders were real or not. Now with that there out of the way, if you guys can, please hit that like button. It helps this content out in the algorithm. It also helps this content get found. If you guys can also please leave a comment in the comment section. I'm going to want to get you guys thoughts on the essay and the film itself, as well as the character. So please leave a comment, please hit the like button, and if you guys are new here, please consider subscribing, and let's get started. Chances are, if you clicked on the video, you already know the plot of the film, so I don't think I need to go through that thoroughly, but I can just kind of briefly explain Patrick for you guys. And like I said, if you saw the film, then quite frankly, you kind of already know about Patrick Bateman. But Patrick Bateman is a 27-year-old Wall Street yuppie. He works for a company called P&P. This right here is a company full of individuals, and I talked about this in the first video, that are quite frankly pretty interchangeable. It's almost like if you've seen one, you've seen them all. It kind of goes back to that whole theme of collective identity, which of course will come up a little bit later on in the course of this video, but I advise you guys go check out my first video. You get the impression that these men, for the most part, are in fact soulless. Patrick even indicates this at the very beginning of the film, the very first clip that you guys saw, where he basically explained that there's an idea of a Patrick Bateman and there's nothing really there. There's also another bit where he kind of clamps back down on this, where he basically says that he's got flesh, he's got blood, but really there's nothing inside of him.
I have all the characteristics of a human being. Flesh, blood, skin, hair. But not a single clear, identifiable emotion, except for greed and disgust.
There's also this bit about his nightly bloodlust, which we'll come back to a little bit later in this video, but getting back on track, the point is this here. Patrick is somebody who's been moonlighting as a serial killer of this entire story. You also get the impression that he is a man trying to break away, trying to break out, trying to do something to stand out from the crowd. More on that a little bit later. But there's this extreme hyper focus on name brands, the skincare routine, the name brands themselves. Going back to that, I know I just said it, this is the second time I said it, but still though, the heavy emphasis on this, it just breeds a man that is extremely self-deluded. And not only him, but also the people around him. It just so happens to be that Patrick is the only one who seems to be aware of this. I mean, last video I played a bit of a montage of the sort of greatest hits of him just sort of being himself. I'm going to replay that for you guys here, except this montage will be a little bit longer with a little bit more in it, but here goes.
This is Dorothea?
Yes, dear. Courtney, you're going to have the... I need to engage in homicidal behavior on a massive scale. I couldn't take I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Hello, Halberstram. Nice talk.
Has mistaken me for this dickhead Marcus Halberstram. It seems logical because Marcus also works at PNP and if you don't shut your fucking mouth, I will kill you.
Evelyn. Great ass. Goes out with that loser Patrick Bateman. What a dork.
You're a fucking ugly bitch. I want to stab you to death and then play around with your blood.
I've got to return some videotapes.
I know that your friends are my friends, and I thought about that. You can have them. Ask me a question.
So what do you do?
I'm into, murders and executions mostly.
Do you like it? Our past.
We never really shared one.
You're inhuman.
No, I'm in touch with humanity. Disposing of the body. There is a moment of sheer panic when I realize that Paul's apartment overlooks the park. And it's obviously more expensive than mine. I have to return some videotapes.
That was only roughly a minute and 41 seconds. There's compilation videos out there of Patrick Bateman just being an absolute, well, you guys obviously saw it, and I decided to throw that last bit in about Paul Allen's apartment so that way you guys could see exactly how delusional and how deluded this guy is. The hyper focus on name brands, the constant obsession with Dorsia, yeah, it's really hard to call Patrick Bateman a villain. It's almost like what the actor who played him, Christian Bale, had said. He's quite literally a little bit on the more ridiculous side. So, yeah, it's really hard to see him as a villain, even though he's obviously a psychopath, but more on that later. And like I said, there's a lot more moments in this film and the story and even the book that you could draw from, but I want to talk about Patrick among the collective, so let's go ahead and get to that. Now gang, American Psycho is one of my favorite films. You can probably tell by the way I'm talking, and one of the biggest reasons why is because of Patrick Bateman being so absolutely ridiculous. But there's one more thing that needs to be said. Of everything that happens, you can tell it doesn't really take much if you just look at it. You can see that Patrick Bateman is actually inferior, and what I mean by inferior is that he's not exactly alpha amongst the group. Let me give you guys an example of what I mean. The person that you sort of get the idea is the alpha of the group is actually McDermott, who is played by Josh Lucas. And the reason why I bring this up is because not so much because of the scene at the beginning of the film where, you know, they're having a conversation, and of course there's also this back and forth about...
Is McDermott, what does that have to do with anything?
I've seen that bastard sitting in his office talking on the phone to the CEO, spinning a fucking menorah.
Not a menorah. You spin a dreidel.
Oh my god, Bateman, you want me to fry you up some fucking potato pancakes? Some latkes?
No, just cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Oh, I forgot. Bateman's dating someone from the ACLU.
Nor is it the scene where they're having a conversation about girls and McDermott seems to be the one kind of holding the conversation. We'll come back to the scene here in a second, but it's really the business card scene. Let me explain. Now, before I talk about the business card scene, I want you guys to know that every single video essay out there typically tends to come back to this scene to show you exactly how frail Patrick is. And don't worry, I'll be doing the same thing, but I'll be hitting it from a different angle. You guys will see here in a second. But like I said in the previous video, pay attention to his body language. Pay attention to how fast he sinks when he sees that Van Patten and Bryce's business cards are in fact better than his.
Look at this.
That is really nice.
Eggshell with Romalian type. What do you think?
Nice. Jesus. That is
I can't believe that Bryce prefers Van Patten's card to mine.
But wait. You ain't seen nothing yet. White.
Impressive. Very nice. Let's see Paul Allen's card. Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god. It even has a watermark.
Now, I know what you may be thinking. Why in the world would I show you this scene again? Well, the reason why I showed you this scene again, and of course you see more of it in the B-roll footage, is because there is somebody among the group who does not showcase their business card. McDermott. McDermott may be in a bit of a position where he's a little bit higher up among the company who really knows. Not much information is given about him, but if you just pay attention to the interactions between Patrick, between McDermott, Bryce, you get the sense that McDermott is in fact the alpha. As a matter of fact, there's a deleted scene in the club where they're partying at where I think it's Bryce has a bit of a freak out, and definitely be coming back to that a little bit later on because Patrick Bateman throughout the entire story you can kind of tell is having his own little freak out himself. But the point is this here. Patrick is sent back to go get him. I'm showing it to you guys right here, the B-roll footage, that way you guys can kind of see. McDermott does not go. As a matter of fact, Patrick even goes to McDermott to find out what McDermott wants. He kind of gets his opinion on this, and McDermott's like, we'll go get him. The point is this right here. You can tell that Patrick is not the alpha. And then we come back to the scene where they're having the conversations about girls, and then you get Lewis, and don't worry more on him in a second, where Lewis shows off his business card.
Card. I decided to get a new one too.
Oh, that's very nice, Lewis.
Thank you.
Now, gang, instead of Patrick getting all nervous, for some odd reason, he begins to get upset. He actually begins to boil over, and as you guys know, he eventually follows Lewis into the bathroom where you get the famous, I got to return some videotape scene. And we kind of showed that earlier, something I need to show it to you guys again. But the thing I want you guys to pay attention to is pay attention to how McDermott sort of, well, let me play it for you.
Listen, what about dinner? Is that all you ever have to contribute, Van Patten? What about fucking dinner?
Cheer up there, Bateman. What's the matter? No shiatsu this morning?
Touching me like that and draw back a stump.
Hold on there, little buddy.
Excuse me.
Did you catch what McDermott said to Patrick? He put his hand on him and he said, little buddy. When you call somebody little buddy, that there is really sort of a, how do I put this? It's almost like putting your fingers on the back of a dog's neck to get a dog to be quiet. It's almost like a little hit, like know your place. I'm still above you. This right here is just more and more indication that everything that Patrick does is sort of an overcompensation for something else. Like, for example, the first thing that you get with the prostitutes. When he tells them who he is, just look at how they react.
Don't you want to know what I do?
No. No, not really.
Well, I work on Wall Street.
The girls, quite frankly, don't know who he is, and quite frankly, they do not care. They are not impressed by him. He is just another client, which is something else that needs to be talked about a little bit later on in the video when we get to the additional insecurity section of the video. But the point is this here. To these people, Patrick is an absolute nobody. Just another client, just another customer. You're not special, dude. And why in the world is this guy trying to let these prostitutes know that he's somebody? If you read the book Rules of Attraction, which is also a Bret Easton Ellis work that sort of orbits around Patrick Bateman and his family, you find out that Patrick Bateman's father was a bit of a ladies' man. Something that if you look into Patrick, you see that he's kind of not a ladies' man. There's also one more thing about the book, and I'm talking about the book American Psycho, not Rules of Attraction here. When you read the book, the very first chapter, very first segment, you get Patrick sort of trying to lay it down to the reader that he is somebody special. Like there's even this bit where he says, I'm special, I am an asset. As if to say, I am much better than you, but it comes off in a way that might make you think that this guy is overcompensating for something. Just figure I'd throw that out there before we go further. But even though I'm about to talk about Lewis a little bit more in detail here in a second, I could not help but throw this in here now. If you pay attention to the business card scene at the very start of that sequence, Patrick sort of swats Lewis's hand away as if to say, don't touch me, peasant. Like I said, more on Lewis here shortly, because there is the whole theory that Patrick Bateman is really a gay man struggling to come out of the closet, but more on that in a minute. The thing is this right here. If you look at the actual pecking order of the guys themselves, you would come away with the notion that the top dog is actually McDermott. I would argue that Patrick is number 2, but given the fact that you don't get much as far as dialogue out of Van Patten, and Patrick is even jealous of Van Patten's card, it's possible that Van Patten may be number 2 and he's very secure in his spot. And it looks like the 3 and 4 slots are sort of a competition between Patrick and Bryce. And then Lewis, of course, would be number 5. The point is that as much as Patrick tries to get across to you that he is something special, he really is not. It goes back to the whole collective identity thing again, which of course will be coming up more and more over the course of this video. Patrick is doing everything he can to try to stand out from the group, to try to stand out from the crowd, and quite frankly, he cannot. Which brings us to that whole, is Patrick gay theory. So let's get to that. So part of the gay theory, and it's really just an amalgamation of separate parts, that Patrick Bateman is actually a gay man trying to come out of the closet. And yes, I do know that Bret Easton Ellis is a gay man. But part of this theory is that his treatment of Lewis, there's also the whole notion that he is extremely in touch with the whole music scene, especially given the fact that he knows pretty much all the lyrics to Genesis songs, and of course also Whitney Houston.
It's hard to choose a favorite among so many great tracks. But the greatest love of all is one of the best, most powerful songs ever written.
The obsession with Dorcia, the obsession with the name brands, people think that it's possible that he's actually a gay man trying to come out of the closet. And like I said before, Bret Easton Ellis is a gay man, but Bret Easton Ellis also wrote this book when he was very depressed, which by the way could help explain a big part of that theory. He wrote this piece as a critique on male behavior and also a showcase of what could happen if consumer capitalism goes completely and totally out of control and it becomes completely and totally about nothing but the profit. Don't worry, there's another scene that sort of highlights this a little bit later on in the film. But let's talk about this gay theory. I personally don't buy it, and the real reason why I don't buy it is because of Patrick's treatment of Jean. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh God, one girl? Well, guys, believe it or not, in the book, there is somebody that Patrick is very, very much in love with outside of himself, and that person is Jean, his secretary.
You look nice today.
Don't wear that outfit again.
What? I didn't hear you.
I said, do not wear that outfit again. Wear a dress, a skirt, or something.
You don't like this, I take it.
Come on. You're prettier than that.
That scene that I just played for you guys there, a lot of people have kind of taken this toward to maybe think that maybe this is how Patrick is with every woman, but it's clearly not if you pay attention to how he acts with his girlfriend, Evelyn. By the way, Evelyn's very important to kind of clamp down my theory here. You see, Patrick doesn't, how do I say, his father was a ladies' man, as discussed earlier. He is not so much a ladies' man. It seems like everything has been arranged for him. The girlfriends, all that type of stuff there. I mean, going back to Lewis, he's even screwing Lewis's girl. But this part does not mean that Patrick is gay. Like I said before, he's very, very much in love with Jean, and he mentions Jean a few times in the actual book itself. There's even this bit after the date where Patrick even has visions of him and Jean inside Central Park releasing balloons. Now, I'm saying this prayer without even talking about the scene that you guys are seeing right here in the B-roll footage, but if you pay close attention to the scene where Patrick's girlfriend calls in and leaves that voicemail, you kind of get from Patrick a sense of I wouldn't say so much dread, more along the lines of a sense of disappointment. Like, I thought I'd be left alone tonight. I didn't think she would call me tonight. I really and truly cannot stand being with Evelyn. I want to be a little bit more free. I've kind of made up my mind I want to be with Jean. I want to start something with her, but I can't break out. I can't get away, which is really kind of an underlying theme of the actual story itself, especially in the film. But if you remember the scene bit for bit, you probably remember the nail gun being pointed at Jean's head. Yes, however, there is no air hose there, which also lends credence to the whole it was all in his head stuff, but more on that a little bit later. The point is this right here. He's awkward around Jean, very awkward around Jean. And then to go on top of this, and this where it kind of goes to the whole point of how insecure he is, the line that you guys see here.
Because I want to fit in.
Really quick, guys, I had to kind of edit this little part in late, but there are two more things that I want to kind of draw from this date with Jean very, very quickly. There's this little bit here where Patrick is suddenly stumped during the date, and he says this to her.
Did you know that Ted Bundy's first dog, a collie, was named Lassie? Had you heard this?
Who's Ted Bundy?
Yeah, kind of weird to be talking about Ted Bundy like the ultimate serial killer while you are moonlighting as a serial killer, but there's also one more thing that needs to be said, and that right there, of course, goes back to the nail gun scene. While Patrick has got the nail gun pointed to the back of her head, and bear in mind there is no hose, so therefore the nail gun would not work, Gene asked him a very, very personal question about relationships or about his situation or what he wants, and his response was simply this.
Make someone happy. Have you ever wanted to?
I'm looking for, I guess you could say I just want to have a meaningful relationship with someone special.
I want a serious relationship. I've got a nail gun in the back of your head with no hose in there because I'm trying to visualize myself killing you, but I can't do that. So, no, I don't think Patrick is gay at all. I think he's just extremely insecure, and also at the exact same time, I do believe that he is, exactly what the book stated, in love with Jean. But moving on. But still, going back to that whole notion about fitting in, this is kind of what this entire thing is about. Like, the girlfriends themselves all feel kind of arranged, and you don't get the sense that Patrick has ever really done anything on his own. I mean, even in the book or the other books that Bret Easton Ellis has written, you get the impression that these people, once again, were, for the most part, raised by servants, and nothing about these people is organic at all. And then to go on top of that, you get back to the whole notion about real feelings, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Patrick is just another person who's trying to fit in. And by fitting in, I mean he goes out of his way to try to fit in. And when he's about to break down and completely crap the bed and just confess everything, even after he confessed the night before to his attorney, he is about to break down and just confess all to who? Jean.
Race for drinks? Where are you, Patrick? What's wrong?
Don't think I'm gonna make it, Jean. To the office this afternoon.
Why?
Just say no!
And this way would also be a great segue to talk about the ending of the film and also conclude this video. Now, before we talk about the director and her actual thoughts on the film, I want to go ahead and say this. If you read the book, then you know that the book itself kind of leans more in the direction that it all happened in Patrick's head, and it wasn't real. The film, on the other hand, a little bit different. And I think that the biggest reason why this is the case, and I talked about this in the first video, is all the misidentification. We're going to play a little bit of a montage for you guys now, and then we'll talk about the director.
Hello, Halberstram. Nice tie. How the hell are you?
Alan has mistaken me for this dickhead Marcus Halberstram.
So how's the ransom account going, Marcus?
It's all right.
Really?
Alan, congratulations on the Fisher account.
Thank you, Baxter.
That Reed Robinson over there? Are you freebasing or what? That's not Robinson. Well, who is it then? It's Paul Allen.
It's not Paul Allen. Paul Allen's on the other side of the room over there.
Who's he with? Weasel from Kicker Peeble.
Now, guys, that right there is just a few. But it's actually quite pervasive throughout the film, and don't worry, there's actually more of that to come before we close out the video. But let's talk about the director for a second.
One thing I think is a failure on my part is people keep coming out of this film thinking that it's all a dream, and I never intended it. All I wanted was it to be ambiguous in the way that the book was.
Why did they think that?
I think it's a failing of mine in the final scene that I just got the emphasis wrong, because I should have left it just more open-ended without wanting to give the plot away. It makes it seem like it's, I guess clearly, because people keep saying this to me, it makes it look like it was all in his head, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's not.
Okay, so you guys heard that, so let's go over the ending really quick. So there's a lot of evidence that suggests that this was in fact in his head, and then there's also a lot of evidence that suggests that it was not in his head, hence the misidentification. And like I said, there is more where that came from, but in a slightly different way, which I'll get to here momentarily. But there's something that I want to go ahead and throw out there, and it's a little bit, it's kind of like one of those running jokes that just kind of keeps popping up throughout the entire film, and that right there is Patrick and his headphones. For example, you hear the music playing out loud, Lady in Red by Charles de Burgh, and then there's also Simply Irresistible by Robert Palmer.
You fit in.
Cheek to cheek.
is it?
It's as if to say that he lives completely and totally in his mind, and mind alone, when obviously that's not the case. I think it's just more what he wants to be doing, and of course, as I've mentioned before, several bits and pieces that show you that he tries to break out. The confession, of course, is the obvious. But let's go through these murders really quick. I know, I'm going to kind of shorten things up just a little bit, but here we go. So my personal interpretation is that some of the murders were real and some of them were not. For example, the homeless guy, I believe he killed him. I believe he killed Paul Allen. I also believe that he killed this lady who was walking beside him after he leaves the ATM machine. And I also believe that he killed the model at the club. There's even a head there in the refrigerator when he goes to get ice cream for Jean. But still, nevertheless, obviously some of this stuff was in fact in his head. I mean, I don't think that the notebook of him drawing all those prostitutes getting killed would be there unless they weren't trying to also say something and maybe even possibly confuse us. But let's talk about what was obviously in his head. The ATM machine, feed me a stray cat, him shooting the old lady. I mean, you could argue that he did that, but I think there's a little bit more that kind of confuses this or muddies the waters a little bit. So Patrick eventually takes off running, tries to, bump these cars to try to get the car alarms to go off, and then eventually the cops corner him and he shoots at the police officers, and somehow he manages to blow up the cop car. He's not doing that with a 9mm pistol, folks. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that right now. Then he goes into the office building, shoots the guy at the front. Then he goes through a revolving door and just magically hits this guy and kills him. Yeah, a lot of this is absolutely ridiculous, and of course we get the confession.
I don't want to leave anything out here. I guess I've killed maybe 20 people. Maybe 40. Even, I ate some of their brains. And I tried to cook a little. Tonight, I just had to kill a lot of people.
And the confession itself just sounds absolutely insane, which also brings me back to another part in the film where and I played part of this, but I did not play the whole bit earlier, but let me just replay it for you.
My nightly bloodlust has overflowed into my days. I feel lethal, on the verge of frenzy. I think my mask of sanity is about to slip.
The nightly bloodlust, it seems to me like this has happened before. But then again, at the same time, you could also come away with the whole bit that maybe even the confession itself was also fake because it's probably been done before and nobody takes him seriously. Like he's almost crying wolf constantly. But like I said before, go back to all the misidentification. I mean, even McDermott, the top dog, he even got misidentified. But the thing that sort of seals it for me is the apartment scene at the very end where you've got this lady who just kind of gives him this look that, dude, I need you to get out of here because, yeah, we need to get this property sold, and we don't care about what happened here over the previous couple of nights, because some people have tried to argue that the sequence involved in the chainsaw was also in his head as well. I even argued that too, because it's extremely unlikely that you're going to chase somebody down the hall butt naked with a chainsaw and nobody's going to hear it. But then again, though, in this world, everybody is sort of self-deluded and everybody's kind of into their own thing, so I could kind of see where this actually happens. But him dropping the chainsaw all the way down the stairs and hitting the target as accurately as he did, I highly doubt it. Still, though, obviously something happened in that apartment complex because that lady is giving him a look, staring right through him, and she even calls him out on his bullshit.
I think you should go now.
But I think... I want to know what happened here.
Don't make any trouble, please. I suggest you go.
This woman wants him to get out of there. And of course, going back to the whole notion that his father practically owns the company, it's possible that this sort of thing could have in fact been covered up. But then that brings us back to Detective Kimball, who I did not speak much about in the previous video, but I'm going to speak about now. So, if you've seen the film, then obviously you know that the disappearance of Paul Allen is being investigated, and Patrick Bateman has been getting questioned about this. I'm not going to play too many of the scenes for you guys, but there are two small bits in particular that I do want to talk about. Number one, there's this scene, a deleted scene, where Patrick is at the club and Kimball shows up. Now, you're seeing only a small bit of it, but you can find it online. I'll link the full bit in the description box for you guys, as well as the rest of the deleted scenes, where Detective Kimball basically tells Patrick, yeah, I like going to the club and going talk to the people that I'm investigating because they tend to kind of let me know who they really are. They kind of seem to expose themselves when they're in a much more natural environment. And then there's also the sequence where the two are having lunch, and, well, I'll put it this way here. When Detective Kimball basically notifies Patrick that all of his alibis have checked out, Patrick's response, just look at his body language once again.
Following night. Personally, I think the guy went a little nuts, so split town for a while. Maybe he did go to London. Sightseeing, drinking, whatever. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he'll turn up sooner or later. I mean, to think that one of his friends killed him for no reason whatsoever would be too ridiculous. Isn't that right, Patrick?
Seems to indicate some level of relief. And then, of course, there's also the bit, even when he's talking to the lawyer, that not only does he get misidentified, but he basically gets told, and I'm going to play some of these right here kind of back to back because it also includes Paul Allen, that Patrick Bateman, for the most part, is an absolute nobody.
Evelyn, great ass. Goes out with that loser Patrick Bateman. What a dork.
Another martini, Paul.
You know who I am? I'm not Davis. I'm Patrick Bateman. I killed Paul Allen. And I liked it. I can't make myself any clearer.
But that's simply not possible. And I don't find this funny anymore.
It never was supposed to be. Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Because I had dinner with Paul Allen twice in London. Just 10 days ago.
No, you...
So when you factor in all the false bravado, when you factor in all the insecurities, you factor in everything that's happened in this story, you factor in his actual status as father practically owning the company, it leads to a great big giant smorgasbord full of confusion, but still at the same time the point still remains. The misidentification, the constant consumerism, the focus on name brands, the self-delusions. Everybody is in this world together, and Patrick could have done these murders, and quite frankly, nobody would have cared. And then to also go on top of that, if it was Patrick Bateman who did do these murders, everybody would be kind of baffled by this because, as you guys saw before, people kind of view him as a bit of a nobody. Or maybe it's what the actor Christian Bale, who portrayed Patrick Bateman, said. Maybe it's that.
As that person, but Bateman is not a... I could never really view him just as a villain, pure and simple, because he's so ridiculous, you know. He's not your ordinary kind of Hannibal Lecter kind of scary villain, because you laugh at him, you know, never with him.
Absolutely 100% completely ridiculous. It's one of the biggest reasons why it is that I too cannot take this character seriously as a villain and think, if anything, this guy is more than likely just outright ridiculous. And then to go on top of that, the final point, just kind of a little thing I want to throw out before I close the video. And this right here is what I want to kind of close on. While Bateman is telling you in his internal monologue that this confession has meant nothing, there is a sign on the door right behind him. It's an homage to the play No Exit by Sartre. That play focuses it on three people who believe that they are in hell, one man and two women. They constantly fight, argue, drama, bicker over who gets to sleep with who, all that type of stuff there. The room is later on revealed to be hell, so you can kind of come away and think to yourself that everything that you've seen is Patrick's inner hell. Still, though, the point is this here. These people have the opportunity to leave at any point in time, but they choose not to. They choose to stay inside that room. They choose to bicker. They choose to fight. They choose to argue. They choose to stay in the drama, but they can leave at any point in time. As if to say, somebody is trying to say, you can escape hell. But still, though, I just figure I would throw that out before I close down the video. You guys tell me what you think in the comment sections. Just my take. I mean, I would love to hear what you guys' thoughts are on not only the video essay, but also the film, the book, the character. If you guys can, please hit the like button for the algorithm. It helps the channel out. Also, like I said, please comment, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.